We are talking about dealing with debt during crisis. So, and we're going to be able to throw up a link to a article. Stephen's going to put it in the chat for you. So maybe a pen and paper ready as well. I'm going to give you some numbers during all of this. That might be helpful. There we go. And it's going to be replayed on the web, so that will be up probably on the Orlando Law Group on Facebook. If you have not liked our page, please do so. There's been a lot of good information going up there as far as videos for all different types of issues going on. We've had speakers every Tuesday doing one of these, so there's a lot of good videos on there. Take a look in case you're needing some information. Okay. Give you a couple more minutes and we'll get going. Make sure all my notifications are off here. There we go. Shut those off. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I'm going to get started. We'll just generally talk about what's going on. Again, thank you everyone who's joined today. We're talking about dealing with debt during this crisis. If you hopefully haven't been personally affected, but if you haven't, I'm sure you know someone. I know a lot of people who've been furloughed from their jobs for an indefinite amount of time. People laid off, businesses that were non-essential closed down. And I think a majority of people are just facing a downturn in income, regardless of the sect, because stuff has just kind of come to a halt. Nobody's really like moving. Everybody's just hunkering down. And so we're seeing just a slowdown in income. So we want to talk about what to do, because obviously the bills don't stop coming during this crisis, but we have our income that is, taking a hit. We've got a couple of things going on right now. I'm sure everyone knows about the stimulus checks, and I can tell you that a couple of people have told me that they've received their stimulus checks in their bank deposits. Last night and the night before, people were getting deposits into their bank account. So there are not official checks going out. If you receive a check from the IRS in the mail, it is a scam. So they have not started issuing checks. We have had that happen already. These checks look very realistic. So please reach out to someone if you think, or tell elderly if you know, because of course they will be the first ones to think that, oh, I need this money and it's here and I'll go cash it. That opens you up to a lot of fraud by the scammers who sent it. They get your information. So please just be cautious with that. Right now, the monies are being direct deposited to your bank account. That being said, other than the stimulus checks, if you own a business or small business, independent contractor, you can go back and watch the videos that Jennifer has done about the different types of loans and grants that were given as part of the CARES Act. And so there's some money that can be had there. It's been a lot really confusing. The banks have been overloaded with processing loans. I referenced this yesterday on a live that I did, but I have a friend who's a commercial loan processor in Kansas City, and she is processing SBA loans as fast as she possibly can, but they are so backlogged. So in the meantime, businesses are struggling. People that have small businesses or independent contractors are struggling because if their business has been shut down, there's no income. And now what do we do, right? One of the interactions that I had the first week the shutdown happened was with a small business owner who ran a doggy daycare, a boarding facility, and I went there and he had 2 dogs. He normally has 30 on any given day, plus all the cancellations from the spring break. And he was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I have a mortgage on this building. I have a mortgage on my home. And I'm sure a lot of you out there are facing the same thing. Mainly, we've got mortgages that have to be paid every single month. And how are we going to make those payments? So he right away told me that he had called and asked for a forbearance, and he was on the phone for 3 hours to get through. And so I want to start by talking about the forbearances on the mortgage and where that is coming from. I'm sure you've heard about that. I've had a lot of people call me or email me about getting their mortgage on a forbearance. So the article that is in the chat kind of goes over this a little bit more in detail, but a couple of things that I want to point out. So the CARES Act is allowing for forbearance of federally backed mortgages. So that's going to be the Freddie Mac or the Fannie Mae mortgages. And in that website or that article, there's a link to look up whether you have a Fannie or Freddie backed loan. So you can look it up in case you want to see. Or an FHA or a VA backed loan. Any federally backed loan is eligible for a forbearance. Other lenders are also offering forbearances, I have heard, but they are not under the parameters of the CARE Act. We're going to go into that a little bit deeper, but first, I am speaking to the federal forbearance at this point. So what we know based off of the federal forbearance is that they're giving 6 months of temporary suspension of your payments. Now, what happens after that 6 months? First, know that this is not a forgiveness of those payments. This does not change the terms of your loan. This does not change your interest rate. This simply suspends the amount of time that you have to pay those payments. So think of it as they're not due right now, but they're going to be due in 6 months. So that's 6 months of payments that are going to be then due at the end of this time frame. There is a provision to allow for another 6-month forbearance, but it has to be asked for during the first period of forbearance. A little caveat there. This all makes me very nervous about when or what they're going to do with this forbearance and how that's going to play out, because 6 months of payments is going to be a lot of money, regardless of how low your payment is. 6 months of payments, depending on how long this goes, how long this plays out, what other bills you have. Your stimulus check probably is not going to cover 6 months of forbeared payments. So please keep this in mind. My advice is to not forbear the mortgage unless you literally have no other options, because I do not know how this is going to be treated once the 6 months comes. They are going to either ask for the money in full, or they're going to tell you to go ahead and apply for a hardship modification. If you were around during the recession of 2008, 2009, and the fallout from 2011, 12, and 13, which is when I started practicing, I probably processed and reviewed thousands of loan modifications during my time as a foreclosure defense and bankruptcy attorney at a big law firm, and it was mass hysteria. The banks, they had such an influx of people asking for modifications that they couldn't process them fast enough, and they couldn't get the paperwork in time. So doing a loan modification is very frustrating. If you get to that point 6 months from now and you are going to apply for a loan modification, I highly suggest reaching out to an attorney to help you with it, because it is a cumbersome process, and likely these people are going to be in the same situation trying to process an influx of loan modifications, because my hunch is that these people are not going to have the 6 months of payments to pay in one lump sum in 6 months. So please be very cautious of that. If you get money and you don't need it, such as the stimulus to buy your basic living needs, food, water, electric, please set that money aside if you are forbearing your mortgage, because you will likely need it in a lump sum to pay once the 6 months has come up. If you do not get a loan modification, because those are not guaranteed, you will be facing a default, you will be facing a foreclosure. So this is very, very dangerous, so please tread lightly. If at any point you think, I'm just not sure what I should do, I don't know what my options are, please reach out to an attorney, myself, or anyone who specializes in bankruptcy or has done foreclosure loan modification, to just get an overview of what you should do. Starting earlier than later is the best case scenario, because I will be able to analyze the situation and set you up for the best outcome, regardless of what your situation is. If you call me and say, I just don't have any income, I have no money, I can't pay anything, we can talk about a strategy, whether it's filing now or waiting to file, because we just don't know what bills are going to accrue in the next 6 months. We don't want you to file today and then you still have no way to make payments on anything, and you end up accruing more money, more debt, and emergency room visits or any of that. So an analysis with an attorney is going to be the best thing to do if you are facing any of these extremes, right? Okay, so that's mortgages. No mortgage forbearance unless we have to, but it is out there. Just please tread lightly. Student loans, another big one. This one is exciting for all of us, myself included, who have student loans. They have reduced the interest rate to 0% for the next 6 months. So if you log into your student loan portal, you can go in and see if you have a federally backed student loan. Also, please remember, federally backed student, not private loans. You can see that your interest rate has been reduced to 0%. That is awesome if you are working on paying your student loan off. Now is the time, if you have the income to make the payments, you can really make some headway. That's going to be for 6 months. They have also automatically put your loans on forbearance. So I logged into my account the other day, and I typically have a payment due at the end of the month. It has automatically been put on a forbearance for the next 6 months. In this scenario, there is no interest accruing because that interest rate has been turned down to 0. So that's great. For my people who are on income-based repayment, great news. It's at 0%. They said that it is still counting towards your forgiveness, even though there's no payments due. We'll see how that goes. I think also, what you need to really consider is where you are with your student loans. If you haven't talked to an attorney about your student loan and your student loan plan, please talk to someone so that you know what your end goal is. You're either going to try to pay them off, or you're going to put them on income-based repayment. And this time dictates how you should be proceeding, right? So we're either paying them off or we're pocketing that money and doing something else with it during this time. So maybe that's the time that you can use that student loan payment that was on income-based to pay other bills. That can free up some cash. I don't see any harm in doing that if that is your situation. Credit cards. So the next thing that's going to come up is, okay, now I can't pay my credit cards. Even the minimum payments are not affordable. Even with my stimulus check, I need that to pay just my mortgage. I'm going to pay my mortgage. I'm going to pay for my rent. I'm going to pay for food. Now I can't pay my credit cards. I haven't heard of any credit cards doing anything fantastic yet, but I would certainly reach out to them to see if they'll give you a break, if they can suspend payments. Credit card interest rates tend to be very high, so keep that in mind. That interest rate is still clocking, but reach out to them. The worst thing that you can do in this situation is to put your head in the sand. Try to get in front of this. Try to speak with someone as soon as possible. If you think that things are going to go south for you, if you see the writing on the wall that you were already struggling to make payments and now it's just not going to be feasible. And the reason I say that is because these stimulus checks might be enough to get you through a month or 2 months of making minimum payments. But then what? We don't know how long this is going on. We don't know when we're reopening. We don't know what things are going to look like when we reopen. And that stimulus might not be enough to just supply basic needs for a family for 1 month. So if you're thinking, okay, I have a stimulus check, but I also have $700 in minimum payments on credit cards. What am I supposed to do there? Maybe considering taking that money, and if you don't need it for your living expenses, you have enough to cover your living expenses, that stimulus money is enough to pay for an attorney to file your bankruptcy. Then in one full swipe, you can do away with all of the debt that you have and not have to worry about those minimum payments. A lot of my clients are living from paycheck to paycheck, and that makes me concerned that missing one paycheck is going to cause a spiral of unable to make payments. And it's just talk to someone. I can't stress that enough. You just don't know. You don't want to make the wrong decision with that money. You get $2,900 in your bank account, you immediately just start paying bills with it, and then next month you can't pay anything. So think about how you're going to strategically use that money and how it's going to propel you forward. If you are part of a small business and you've done the small business loans, or you've taken advantage of what Jennifer said about the grants, and then ultimately your business ends up folding in the down the future road, we just don't know, again, how long this is going to go on. You need to have a consultation to find out how that's going to affect you, if that loan's going to be dischargeable. If you think that your business is going to be shutting down, even if you get the money, definitely talk to someone before you take the money and just use it for whatever. There's been some confusion about how this, especially the PPP or the payroll protection, if that's going to be forgiven, and how those loans need to be used. It's very specific. An accountant would be a great resource to determine what your liability could be, how you need to use that money, those type of things. So I won't touch any further on that because that's very, very specific to businesses. So reach out to someone, either an accountant, a business attorney, a bankruptcy attorney, to talk about how that's going to impact your business. Now we get to a point where, yep, bankruptcy looks like it might be the best option for you. Now what? What type of bankruptcies are there, and how do we know if we're going to qualify for bankruptcies? There's a lot of information on the internet. Please know that the information on the internet has to be state specific. Please just, obviously, like anything we read on the internet, just take it with a grain of salt. Make sure that you are getting accurate information. So in Florida, as of April 1st, the income limits for bankruptcy have gone up, right? So you have to be, in order to file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you have to qualify by your income and your household size. Your household size is determined by heads on beds, how many people you have living in your home. So for one person, this is the last 6 months of income. So it's a 6-month look back of your income, and then it's multiplied by 2 to get you to your yearly income, right? So for one person, it's up to $51,000. 2 people, $62,000, 3 people, $68,000, 4 people, $82,000, and 5 people, $91,000. I've seen a substantial increase in the income limits in the last even 6 months to a year. So this opens up a Chapter 7 for a lot of people who previously did not qualify. These numbers are what we call the bright line test. So if, just mathematically speaking, you take your gross income from the last 6 months, gross before taxes, not what you bring home, add all of that up and multiply it out for a year's worth. So multiply it by 2, that will give you your yearly income. If you were under $51,000 for one person, you will likely qualify. We have to double check that, make sure you haven't had any other income coming in from any other sources, and that those are the correct numbers. Sometimes people forget they have a 3 paycheck month. But once we get to that bright line test, if you're underneath it, then you can qualify for a Chapter 7, which is great. So it's opening up the ability for more people to file. However, that's not going to help you. A Chapter 7 is not going to help you if you're behind on your mortgage and you didn't get a loan modification, but you want to keep your house, right? So now what? Well, here comes Chapter 13 bankruptcy. A lot of people are not aware that Chapter 13 bankruptcies can help them bring their loans current. So let's say in 6 months, you have been unable to make the payments on the mortgage. They put it on a forbearance, but now they want all of their money due in one lump sum. You don't have it. You tried to apply for a loan modification. They wouldn't give it to you. So now what? A Chapter 13 bankruptcy can help you catch up those payments over a 5-year plan. You can spread out the amount that you are due to the mortgage company over 5 years, in addition to the payment that you'd be making ongoing. So if your payment was $1,200 and you're $15,000 behind, you'd pay that $15,000 over 5 years, and that would catch you up so that at the end of the 5 years, you would be current on your loan. You can also deal with your credit card debts. You can deal with your student loan debts, all in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. A Chapter 13 is a great tool for restructuring debt for people that have ongoing income, or maybe during this time you're furloughed and you don't have any income, but you will be going back to work and you will be able to make that payment. And you can even make a little bit of an increased payment to make up for those arrears, but you don't have a way to do it without a tool. And that's what Chapter 13 can do for you. A lot of people don't know about Chapter 13. A lot of houses could have been saved if more people knew about Chapter 13. So if you or anyone you know is dealing with a behind mortgage, please tell them to look into a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. It can help. I mean, it's a make or break for saving your house. I've filed people's bankruptcies the day of their sale. They're facing moving out that next week, and we were able to save their house, catch them up, or do a loan modification within the Chapter 13, and they're able to stay in their home. So that is an awesome tool. So please share that to anyone that you know that might be struggling. Outside of that, I think we're probably going to take some questions. I see some questions in the chat box, so I will address those. If there's any questions that you guys want me to go over, please drop them in the chat. If I went too fast over something, you want me to circle back, let me know. Okay, so Karen asked, does that include new student loans that were just received in January for new students? When your student loan isn't due, if it's a federally backed loan, the interest, depending on which type, whether it's a subsidized or unsubsidized loan, it wouldn't be accruing interest anyways. If it is a federally backed loan and it is accruing interest, then it would go to zero. All student loans are going to zero. So there's that. We've got car insurance companies and cell phone carriers are also assisting with delayed payments with no late charges and spreading out current payment over a period of the next 3 months. Yeah, I've seen that a lot. Please reach out to your insurance company or your cell phone company. They are doing, a lot of people are doing, they are doing good things for people who are getting behind. So definitely make the phone call, even though it's going to be, I promise you, it's going to be a long wait on the phone. Make the phone call and try to see what they can do to help you before you just don't make the payment, because they are giving breaks to people for insurance and cell phone. And those are obviously essential nowadays. You have to have your insurance and you need your phone. Most people don't even have a home phone. So reach out to them before you just don't make the payments. That can, I mean, if you can save a few bucks here and there, obviously cancel all non-essential items that you might have that you don't need. Just, we really got to take a look at our spending right now and reel it in, because with the uncertainty, we just are, I'm concerned about the longevity of this and what it's going to do if we don't reopen soon, if we can't reopen soon, how long people can go without an income. I personally know probably 5 to 6 people just in my personal friends and family that have been furloughed. That's not even including the clients that I've gotten emails from. So I know the Disney employee furlough, they were told that it's indefinitely at this point. They don't know if they will be going back. So yeah, we're facing some really uncertain times, and I cannot stress it enough. If you are unsure of where to go with this, just reach out to someone, have a conversation. The bankruptcy consultations are free for my office. A lot of other bankruptcy attorneys do consultations for free as well, but please talk to someone and just know your options. Knowledge is power in this. And I'm seeing people make decisions without talking to somebody first. And I think that it's going to detrimentally impact them down the line. One more question. Furloughed with no current income, can they apply for SNAP for food assistance? I think that if you haven't applied for unemployment, if you have no income, that's something we didn't talk about. applying for unemployment right now is a great idea. Even people that are furloughed, you can apply for unemployment. The income that's going to come from the unemployment is going to be much higher than it typically was, because the CARES package has provided an extra, I think, $600 a week. I think the number is going to be like $875 a week. Don't quote me on that, but it's a lot more. And I don't know what the answer is for like WIC or food stamp assistance. I don't know how they're processing that. I just don't know. I haven't had anyone try that. I know the unemployment application process has been a little frustrating. I had a friend do it the other day, and he said it was all about a password. The password had to have a non-numerical character in there, and he didn't put it in. The first time he went back and put it in, it wasn't saying what was wrong with the application. So when he put it in, then it got submitted. So get on the unemployment. It's going to take some time for those unemployments to be processed, but at least you can get some income coming in. Florida has not received their $600 funding yet. Yeah, they have not received it. I did hear that their $600 funding has not come. So it's just right now the Florida base unemployment. Any other questions? Hopefully I covered enough for you guys in dealing with this, any debt that you might have, any sorts of debt that you might have during this unprecedented time. I don't have any other words for it. It is unprecedented. I myself was practicing starting in 2011. I saw the fallout from the recession, and it was scary. It was really scary. I remember there was times that I stayed up at night thinking about all of these people that I talked about during the day, who lost all of their business. They lost their house. They were losing their house. They couldn't qualify for a modification. They still didn't have any income. So it's scary, definitely thinking about all those people out there that are just going to be struggling with mortgage payments and losing a home. That's the hardest. That's why I like to share the knowledge that I have about Chapter 13 and how it really can help people stay in their home. So I think that's really one of the scariest things right now. So please check on your friends and your neighbors, make sure that they are okay. The Orlando Law Group is, I'm sure you know, we're a full service law firm. We deal with everything from family law to business issues to wills. We got a lot of people doing wills right now. As terrible as that is, a lot of people are thinking, well, this might be a good time to get my will in order just in case something does happen to me. So please reach out to us. Our number 407-512-4394. We're still here. We are essential business. Attorneys are essential. So there is somebody here to talk to you. We can do, like I said, I do free consultations. A lot of them are not, but they're definitely worthwhile. Thank you, Karen. Yes, people who own hair salons and restaurants. Yep, there's a lot of that. Restaurants, a big one, I think, and salons. Yeah, definitely have them talk to me about what they can do. I think that there's some remedies, and it might be able to bridge the gap, and they might be able to get over the hump, and we'll be all right moving forward. But for sure, I appreciate it. Anyone else have any other questions before I let you guys go? All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. I hope that everyone stays healthy out there and is able to get through this financially. Please reach out if you need anything. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.